The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, a case study in Jewish American identity. The following clip is taken from the 20th anniversary of the museum's dedication.
We will always be able to come here to remind us that no matter how smart a people are, if you have a head without a heart, you are not human. That as direct memories fade away, that the records, the pictures, and the stories never die.
We say to young people, now you are our witnesses, because you will go beyond our lives. We say to young people, you are our hope. Whatever we do now is not only for the sake of the past, but surely also for the sake of the future, and you are our.
Look here at the National Mall, the heart of Washington, D.C., and our nation's capital. Some of the United States' most important landmarks call this 300-acre plot of land home. The mall contains everything from the chambers of Congress to sculpture gardens and recreational areas. The attractions here document and put on display for the public hundreds of years of American history and culture. However, at the southwest corner of the mall stands an interesting complex dedicated to an event that took place thousands of miles away in Europe more than half a century ago. This museum is the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, and its official mandate is to, quote, inspire citizens and leaders worldwide to confront hatred, prevent genocide, and promote human dignity. But why did the United States decide to commemorate the Holocaust with a memorial museum that receives federal funding and looks to presidents for input on selecting its board of directors? One might argue that Israel's Yad Vashem or Germany's Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe are warranted, as both states were directly affected by the Holocaust. But why should the United States, with no history of state-legitimated violence against Jews, and whose Jewish citizens make up only 2% of the total population, direct so much attention to one singular event? The answer lies in the ability of American Jews, or Jewish Americans depending on how one identifies, to effectively mobilize elite coalitions concerned with memorializing one of the most traumatic events in history. The story of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum is one that I hope will shed light on the pervasive political nature of the Holocaust and its remembrance, and to that end the ways in which American Jewish identity exists in their modern era. In 1978, President Jimmy Carter created the President's Commission on the Holocaust. Chaired by eminent Holocaust survivor, writer, and educator Elie Wiesel, the Commission released a report that called to the President and the country as a whole to construct what they termed a living memorial, stating, quote, our Commission believes that because they were the principal target of Hitler's final solution, we must remember the 6 million Jews. When ground broke in on the construction site in 1985, dirt from concentration camps was symbolically mixed in with soil from the National Mall, cementing the museum's place at the intersection of America and Europe. With some seed money from taxpayers and roughly $400 million in today's worth, the museum was finished 8 years later. At the museum's formal dedication and opening in 1993, figures such as Bill Clinton, Israeli President Chaim Herzog, and Elie Wiesel gave moving speeches about the importance of the museum's mission for the past and the future. The President's Commission concluded that the universality of the Holocaust lies in its uniqueness. The event is essentially Jewish, yet its interpretation is universal. It involved even distant nations and persons who lived far away from Birkenau's flames, or who were born afterward. From the outset, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum was meant to commemorate and symbolize this uniqueness, but the memory of such an event, and questions about that representation, are muddled when it comes to the aesthetic and design concerns of a physical space. James Ingo Fried of Pei Cobb Fried and Partners was chosen to design the museum. Fried wanted the structure to stand apart from the sensuousness of the surrounding neoclassical capital, and instead pursued a design philosophy that was at once evocative and reserved. Building from the hexagonal design of the Hall of Remembrance with its eternal flame, Fried's museum incorporates elements of wartime Europe with a staid synthesis of, quote, memory that never was, but one that acts as a resonator for the memories of others. In this way, the structure memorializes as it educates, projecting a blank canvas on which patrons can manifest their own conceptions of memory. It is important to consider the political implications of such a unique architectural achievement even before examining the pedagogical or historical questions brought about by the exhibits in the museum. I contend that the case study of the Holocaust Memorial Museum is so persuasive because just its presence alone, as a site of contested memory and reflection, serves political ends. Critical theory is useful here in divining the ways in which the space connotes political agency. Michel Foucault maintains that systems of social relations categorize the ways in which we understand the discourses of power. The phenomenon of the dispositif, or apparatus, includes mechanisms like architectural forms and serves as a strategic discursive method of social control. Jacques Derrida further elaborates in his theory of ontotopology that architectural spaces form the, quote, last fortresses of metaphysics, in their ability to link the ontological paradigm of being with presentable determinations of locality, meaning the essence of the political is linked to the politics of space and place. More accessible than the abstract connotations of the museum are its many exhibitions and huge collection of Holocaust artifacts. The permanent collection contains hundreds of thousands of documents, objects, and footage, anything having to do with the Holocaust in any capacity. In addition, the museum supports temporary exhibitions meant to explore other matters related to the Holocaust in greater detail. There is even an exhibit called Daniel's Story that is geared toward young audiences and helps to explain the gruesome event to children. Its educational mission is profound, evinced by its Center for Advanced Holocaust Studies, that allows scholars to access its myriad resources for publication. The museum is an authority for both academic and popular investigation, and its website boasts that ushmm.org is the world's leading online authority on the Holocaust. One can read the website in over 20 languages, with Farsi and Arabic mentioned by name. Educational scholar Elizabeth Ellsworth lauds the pedagogical aims of the museum in its ability to explore, quote, the space of difference between history and memory. The collection captures everything from Nazi political thought to the visceral sight and smell of 4,000 pairs of shoes from the Majdanek death camp. 3 floors of artifacts immerse visitors in Holocaust visuals, in stark contrast to the Hall of Remembrance, with the sparse marble emptiness that so compellingly forces museum-goers into solemnity. But how does a Holocaust museum on American soil relate to conceptions of American Jewish identity? I choose the case study of the Holocaust Memorial Museum because I think it best represents changing American Jewish attitudes about the Holocaust as the 20th century progressed. Norman Finkelstein's highly controversial 2000 book, The Holocaust Industry, Reflections on the Exploitation of Jewish Suffering, does an excellent job, I think, in exploring the popular roots of American Jewish sentiment and feelings about the Holocaust. While one would be extreme in reaching his conclusion that the Holocaust serves as an ideological weapon, the conclusions he reaches about the rise of Holocaust remembrance are worth analyzing. Finkelstein frames the Holocaust as an event which has been co-opted by elites in the service of political ends. He looks to the 1967 Arab-Israeli War as a turning point in American Jewish identity. American Jewry, quote, remembered the Holocaust to ensure that even in the wake of Israeli military might, they would have the political trump card of recalling a terrible event. The explanation that Jews simply could not bear to think about the Holocaust for the first 2 decades after World War II does not hold water for Finkelstein, as American Jews were making significant strides in terms of financial wealth and political influence. The museum opened in 1993 precisely because the desire for such a structure did not emerge in the political environment of the early years after World War II. American Jews did not command the tool of remembrance and did not experience the necessary political and cultural unity necessary for such a push until the late 1970s. Acquiring federal funding for anything, as recent congressional ineptitude has illustrated, is a tall order. How then can one agree with museum founder Michael Berenbaum's simplistic statement that the museum exists because visitors view the Holocaust as, quote, a violation of every essential American value? That kind of oratory ignores the complex political maneuvering required to get one people's memorial on the National Mall. It also disregards the power of American Jewish stakeholders and their eagerness to demarcate physical and political space. The great care that went into the design of the structure alone suggests that it is continuously utilized as a political tool. As an apparatus, it chooses what to emphasize about the Holocaust through aesthetics and historical information. The highly visual nature of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum does an excellent job of exploring the power of symbolism and recollection in modern American Jewish identity, and its presence in our nation's capital reminds us that even the most sober of monuments serves as an emblem of Jewish success.